So the teacher or the professor starts talking to us about mortgages. 99% of it was wrong. So I kept correcting him during the lesson. So we go to leave class. The professor comes up to me and says, "How did you know so much about this?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I've been working, doing mortgages for about 4 years now, or 3 years, whatever it was." He goes, "You make a lot of money?" Or, "Well, I make $65,000 a year as a professor." And I said, "Oh, yeah, a lot more than that." And he goes, I got one piece of advice for you." And I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, "You need to stop coming to school and just concentrate on what you're doing." Just like that.
All right, we are here with the one and only Carlos Figueira. The guy is an absolute legend with Key Point Mortgage, mentor, friend, confidant, consigliere, entrepreneur, legend of a man, Carlos. But that was a good intro.
There may be two of us. You never know. Well, I'm a fill-in right now.
Yeah. You get so much done that it would make sense. No, but Carlos and I have been together for those listening for 6.5 years, 7 years. He was my first lender and my only lender really in the real estate space. Honestly, since day one, right? We got connected to your godson. With that being said, shout out Joao Carlos for connecting us. But I've got you on today because, of course, you could talk a lot, and you're like the most hidden guy I know in terms of real estate, which is funny because everyone in real estate wants to be loud. Right? You are, I would say, probably the most successful lender I know in terms of like a loan officer and like
twofold though.
Okay, go ahead.
To speak about real estate a little bit and to get a tan.
And a tan because the sun. Yeah, well, I'm glad I switched seats with you because now I'm warm. This is my question of the day. What did you grow up in? Before we talk about where you're currently at, give me a little bit of like, what did you grow up in? Was it a house? Was it an apartment? Was it a building?
It was like a shed. No, I'm
sorry. Oh my God. Okay. Well, you were born in
Portugal. So if you really want to, get down to
home
so
birth.
I'm actually Portuguese. I was born in Portugal, right? So we lived probably like in today's day and age, 15 minutes from a hospital. But back then it's like an hour away from a hospital. And my mom couldn't wait. And I literally was born in my house.
Literally in the house?
Literally in the house.
You have a nurse come or something? Or?
There was like what did you have?
Midwife.
A midwife. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember. I don't remember much of it. It was.
Yeah, I imagine that. How old were you when you came to the States?
So I came over when I was 2 years old.
Oh, so you don't remember anything in Portugal?
Very, very little. Yeah.
Okay. And now when you came to the States, where'd you move?
Yeah. So we moved to Newark.
Oh, direct to Newark. Do you know why your parents chose Newark?
So my cousin, my dad came legally, for work purposes. He made like surgical, like scissors and equipment. And his first cousin, was here already, called him over, like for work purpose, So we all came with green cards day one on a plane. There was no boat involved or anything like that. There was no big journey like that.
Yeah.
But so we actually lived in my cousin Gina's house, I think for maybe like a week or two until they found an apartment. And our first apartment was a small 2-bedroom attic apartment on Rome Street.
Not even illegal, probably 3 families.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't illegal. Me and my brother were little, and we'd wake up and hit our heads on this because it was one of those like
Oh, it's slanted roofs.
That's where our bedroom was. Yeah.
And how long until you guys graduated?
So my parents bought their first house when I was in first grade.
So you went from a 2-bedroom attic apartment to a house.
Yeah.
And was it a house, a multifamily?
No, it was a multifamily on Madison Street here in Ironbound.
Did you know that it was a did you know that, there's other people living in the house? Do you think?
No, yeah, we knew. We had tenants on the first floor.
But now you know what a tenant is. By the time, did you know it was a tenant? Or do you think it was just like...
Probably like as a kid growing up, they were just like friends, we thought, But yeah, as time progressed,
Okay.
Yeah. But as they were... actually, they were Brazilian, oddly enough.
Well, that's good. Yeah. They were probably great tenants.
Fernandinho was my friend.
Brazilian friends.
And I quickly realized they were tenants because they would throw these crazy samba parties, and my parents would be like, "What the heck? You gotta stop making all this noise." But no, they were very close friends of our family. They lived in my house for like 15 years.
Oh,
it was like
so they were long-term tenants.
Yeah.
High quality, always paying.
Yeah, always. They lived there a very long time.
Now, did you know that they were like? This is why I was wondering because I grew up. I moved so many times, like 13 times by the time I was 10 years old or whatever. So I always wonder. I'm like, I always knew from a very young age we were paying someone to live where we lived.
Right.
I always knew that. I always remember my parents like stressing about making the payment.
Well, same thing. We were paying somebody. Well, not we. Obviously, my parents were paying somebody, but they were paying the bank instead of a landlord. But
Were your parents, as you grew up, were they like well off, would you say? Or were they like hardworking, like blue collar?
Yeah, my dad worked 6 days a week until he retired.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So he would work Monday through Saturday. Saturdays were half days. He'd work from like 6 in the morning until 1 o'clock.
Well,
Yeah.
wow.
His whole career.
Brutal work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't brutal work. Like, look, like I have uncles that work in New York City, like digging trenches and stuff like that. Oh. That's pretty brutal, you know? Like he had a good job.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of work and always working,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of impact do you think moving from like a 2-bedroom attic, illegal apartment with your brother and your parents to a like house, now you guys own it, a multifamily house?
That was amazing.
What kind can you
we had a backyard, like which was,
huge.
Awesome, driveway, which as we got older was awesome because, otherwise our cars would be stolen every day. But yeah, so it's huge. It's huge.
And
you're talking about major living space. So we had literally, I'll look at pictures from back then, tiny, kitchen, tiny family room, my parents' bedroom, which was tiny, and then ours, which was even smaller. But we were little back then, so who cares? And that was 3 floors up.
Wow.
Attic, right? Okay. Then we moved, they bought their house here on Madison Street, and all of a sudden they had a basement that they finished off eventually. At first it wasn't, but, and then we had a second floor where, my parents technically lived, but it was like one of these older homes with these big, massive rooms. And then they ultimately finished the upstairs, so the second floor was like what would you call it? Like floor and a half, let's say, right? It had the attic finished off also. And that was 2 bedrooms and a bathroom up there. And that's where me and my brother would stay. So we technically had like through our whole life, our own apartment up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome. So we went from like this small space to call it 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, you literally doubled.
Yeah.
And then some, because you had the backyard.
Yeah, we had
the driveway.
backyard. We had our bikes.
And you guys were there from first grade basically till graduation.
So we were there from when I was in first grade until I actually, like the year before I got married. My parents sold their house.
How old were you when you got married?
Like 27, 28.
Beth, if you're listening, Beth.
The years have been so great, I don't even recall.
All right.
Such treasured time. Okay. No, so let me see. So me and my wife started dating when we were 21. I was the last holdout of all my friends to get married. So we dated for 6 years. So 27, 28, I got married.
It sounds, what I've learned, right, especially as I've been doing so many of these like podcasts.
Yeah.
People who grew up in one place without moving around a lot,
right,
overall just seem to have better childhoods. Like stability, as it seems for like children growing up, very important.
Yeah.
This is what I really learned. When you moved too many times, like for me, I know people ask me, where are you from? Where are you from? I don't know what to tell them. Right. I honestly only tell them what benefits me. So if it's like this environment, I'll tell them I'm from there. But really, because I'm like, well, I moved around so many times.
Right.
Or even within one town, we moved like 6 times in one town. So it's like,
yeah, that's hard.
Or 5 times. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Of course, your parents did the best they could, but still, it's like, my gosh, no good.
Yeah.
And so for you, I think it's a beautiful thing that you had such a longevity, even after, because you never had to worry about, we're going to have to pack up our stuff again or change schools. And did you go public school or private school?
So we went to, I went to Lafayette Street School.
Elementary, right?
Elementary, yeah. K, not K. K, I went to St. Benedict's, but...
you went to St. Benedict's?
Yeah. Yeah, so K private? Through 8, I went to Lafayette Street School. And then my parents, thank God, not that there's anything wrong with Eastside or Newark public school system.
I think there's a lot. I think you can say there's a lot wrong.
I would have probably been like definitely a drug dealer, I'm sure. But a very...
Do you think so?
Very solid drug dealer, I'm sure. Top of the top. But no, thankfully enough, they put us in Queen of Peace High School.
Back then, well, you're talking 30 years ago, right? Yeah. You went to high school, right? 25, 30 years ago. Back then, Ironbound, I would imagine it was a much more dangerous area in contrast to now.
Overall, it was always a safe area, as far as I know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now, I know other people may say different, but I always felt very safe.
Even the school, I feel like the schools have gotten a lot better now from what I hear. I hear back then it was like the worst.
It was like craziness, it was like insane. Back in the day.
Yeah. There's stories that I hear about like from some of my clients of like literally like stabbings that would take place in Eastside High School.
Oh yeah, there's raping, stabbings. It was horrible things.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Now I guess once again, real estate did provide you guys stability, especially where you guys were at. What ended up fast forwarding? And you can talk about your transition before we talk about your transition into real estate as a career path. just with your parents, why did your parents end up selling the 2-family in the Ironbound? Your home. Why did you not buy it? The whole nine.
So me and my brother had bought a couple properties, and we just hated being landlords. Was the bottom line. So we got our last property we sold was in Weehawken, which if we had today would be like amazing property, right? It was a 2.5 unit property, great neighborhood, 3 blocks from the tunnel. It would have been worth megabucks, but we didn't. We were in mortgages already, and our use of time wasn't to be a landlord. It was not good. The return wasn't good. So as far as like my parents' property, we never even ththought about buying their house. Because we didn't want to be landlords. So my parents and my brother were close friends to Ciabras at the time. Marisqueta was right down the road from us. And they sold their home. It was very, very easy sale. No realtor
sold it
involved.
to Ciabras?
They sold it to Ciabras, yeah.
Well, oh my gosh.
Years ago.
These guys know. There's like 3 people who
I think they bought like that whole block.
We're in the Ironbound. You grew up in the Ironbound. You're a true Newarker, right? You're from Newark, right? Yeah. Like point blank. You really from the like concrete rose. Like you really did so much in your life that we'll dive into. But I got to ask you a question. Who would you say owns the Ironbound? Because you got like 4 people.
So like I only look at it. Well, actually, there's a couple people, but in my opinion, it's like the Pepis, right? Don Pepe.
Yeah, Don Pepe and his like the descendants.
Yep.
I got Gabe coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
Next 1 week from now, 2 weeks.
You should renegotiate your rent on the podcast. Put him on the spot.
Hey, can I get a discount? I really helped you out here.
But I would say them, the family, right?
Yeah, they're big
for sure.
They own 30-something buildings, I think.
But there's a lot of people in Newark that own tons of real estate that you would never even know who they are.
Really?
Super humble people. They don't come from like social media environment.
Yeah. Different generation.
Different generation.
Low key.
Very low
old
key.
School Portuguese.
Very
old school Italian. Old school Irish.
Old school. Well, you've met a couple people actually, investors.
Old.
And next
60,
thing you start talking to them and they have like 20, 25 different properties in and out of Newark, right?
And you're just like, you are the most humble guy I know for what you have.
Yeah.
And they really are. They're so humble for what they have. I'm like, wow. Okay, fast back to you. You got into real estate how?
My brother started working for a company where they were literally the first telemarketing for mortgages. It's a company called Parkway Mortgage back in the day, right? Right off the Parkway, oddly enough. I guess that's where they got their freaking name from. But anyway, he started working there. I was working at a clothing store, a very popular clothing store back then. I was the manager. It's called Shout, or what used to be called Shout. It's no longer around, I don't think. My dream at that time was like, hey, I'm going to be like the full-time manager of the store and I'm going to make $28,000 a year and it's going to be a great life, right? So my brother starts working at this mortgage company and he got transferred to an office in Wayne after being there only like maybe 30 days. Him and another guy from Newark, which does mortgages also, his name's Manny Morgado. They got transferred to an office in Wayne because the manager there got sick and was in the hospital. And they like excelled and were doing like great. And after, I don't know, it was only a short period of time, maybe like 6 months or something like that, my brother said, what are you doing? Why don't you come work at our place? And I'm like, what am I going to do there? I don't know anything about mortgages or homes or any of this, stuff. I was 17, about to turn 18. And he said, yeah, just quit your job and come on. And I'm like, What are you talking about? I'm like, how am I going to quit this job? I'm making $4.25 an hour.
And you were a manager, though, at that age.
I was a manager, yeah.
Wow.
He said, yeah, don't worry about it. He's like, I guarantee you'll make more. Don't even sweat it. So that's what I did. I went in the next day, quit my job. And next thing I know, I'm driving to Wayne, New Jersey.
Wow.
And that's where I started my mortgage career. Was that like that simple, that easy.
Whoa.
And there was no like mentorship,
figuring it
training.
out. No, you just got.
So basically, what happened? He passed away, but you would call him my mentor. Really, my brother was my mentor, right? But went into the office the first day, right? Sit down. I don't even know how to spell mortgage, by the way. Okay, right? Sit down. Nor do I know what a mortgage is. I had no idea.
And now
I just knew I was working at a mortgage company. I didn't know what any of that meant.
Okay, so from not knowing,
I'm 18.
You're 18, you know nothing from a mortgage. Now you're at what? You're 42, 41?
Well, thank you. Yes.
43,
yeah,
44?
Pretty close.
How old are you right
I just turned 49.
40. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 30 years later.
I think me and you are 20-year difference, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
49? Yeah, 20-year difference. How many mortgages do you think that you've done personally? Tens of thousands?
I don't know. I don't know. I never thought about a number, but
you're probably doing 100.
Certainly thousands, 100% thousands.
You probably did 100. You probably do 150 average a year. Let's call it. Probably.
So that's now, yeah. Like back in the day.
Well,
actually, I was really busy back then too. I don't know, dude. I would say like easily 150 a year
times 30.
Times 30.
Let's just use an average.
30, yeah.
So you're talking like you probably have done half. You probably have done like 4,500 mortgages, 5,000 mortgages.
Probably. Yeah.
You guys sound crazy.
But that's just me personally, not my company.
Oh, not your company. If you think about the company, you probably had like 20,000, 30,000 alone.
Yeah.
Maybe at one point, didn't you guys have like...
But listen, that's really good. But there are a handful of guys that do, 500, 750, 1,000 units per year.
Yeah.
So although I consider myself like a mortgage guru, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. There's some guys out there that
I think they're rubber stampers is my, they're just like putting their name on things, but that's the only way. Anyways, you're 18. Now, wait, how did your brothers have a lien?
Wait, so let me tell you. So what happens is, and I think your training went a little bit differently, right?
Yes.
So what happened was I sit at this desk, right? And my boss, Rich Sales, gives me this list of people, right? He says, I want you to call these people and ask them if they're interested in a mortgage or if they need any money against their house. So basically, it was like they were subprime, more of like cash out. When I started in the business, interest rates were, and it was considered a low, 9.99.
When you started?
My first year, my first 6 months maybe.
So right now, you're not sweating?
It's, I'm sweating because of the heat in here because, there's amazing, energy, but... and literally solar power energy, but the rates were much higher, So sit down at this desk, he gives me this list and he says, start calling. And I say, okay, if they say they're interested, what do I do? And he says, put them on hold and come see me. All right. So pick up the phone, not a nice fancy phone like we have now. It was like literally these old, like, if you go to a museum, you'll probably know what they're all about because you've never experienced these.
No way.
Yeah,
I wasn't even born.
Crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. Get the customer on the phone, say, hey, I'm calling from Parkway Mortgage. Are you interested in, maybe getting some cash out on your property? Home improvements, debt consolidation. They're like, yeah, I'm very interested. Okay, hold on one second. Boom. Hey, Rich, they're interested. You'd say, okay, ask them how much money they need. Hey, Brendan, how much money do you need?
Wow.
$25,000. All right, hold on one second. Rich, $25,000. And so like the dialogue went back and forth like that.
And you were the one running the time. You were running the conversation. He was just telling you what to say.
Yes. I would just put him on hold and run into his office.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You had to be wearing Nike sneakers. You were just sprinting back and forth, back and forth.
So it's almost like sink or survive, right?
Yeah.
You either gonna sink or swim, I guess.
Yeah.
Sink or swim, right? So I happen to be one of those that swam. So like I learned through my first conversation with the customer some of the basic questions. So now my second conversation, it was like, oh, hey, yeah, so how much money do you actually need? So when I went to see Rich now, right, I already had like all the bases covered. And he would literally just sit down and say, okay, tell him 1099, 1199, and this is the payment, right? And then my third conversation, I already had figured out how to do the payment. He gave me this weird, little booklet thing that you go to a rate and you go to the years and it tells you what the principal and interest payment is and you just multiply times whatever 1,000, right? Not like fancy, like with computers now, whatever. And that was it. So it's basically sink or swim. So, a bunch of us swam. Some people definitely sank, because couldn't figure it out, couldn't get it done, No. That was it.
Oh, look at my man Rami out here putting the fan on for you.
Nice.
You see, Rami, can you move the fan a little bit more to hit this guy, Carlito?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure? We don't want you
joking, but like, the truth does come out.
Every joke has a little bit of truth.
But what I was going to say is, so that model, that's on-the-job training at its highest level, probably,
next
right?
level.
Yeah.
That is like the most on the job. It literally, it's like we're doing this together.
Right. Yeah.
Like where you basically work the file with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I do want to share a story. Then I want to ask you about your current, what life looks like for you now. Okay. Can you tell the story about what made you decide to drop out of college with like, how many credits did you have left? Like 15 credits?
Yeah. I had, I think I think I have 88 credits.
You
or
have 88
84 credits.
Yeah,
A lot. It's a lot.
You're over here disappointing your parents, right? Your parents are like, why are you dropping out of college?
No. Honestly, my parents didn't even care.
Why?
'Cause I paid for my own college. It isn't
Okay.
like they were paying. It's almost embarrassing to actually say this, but I went to college probably for 6 years.
6 years?
Yes, because I was always working full time, obviously, as a loan officer, and I literally ran a branch at that time, right? So what I would do is, it's pretty funny. I would drive a lot of my employees, marketers at that time, telemarketers that worked for me were like girls from Patterson. So I would go to school. I would have all my classes from like 7:45 to like 10 a.m., right? 10 a.m. leave, drive through Patterson, pick them all up.
No.
Yeah, because they didn't drive or anything like that. And I would drive them into the office. Yeah.
You're just picking up these, I'm assuming, Latina.
Yeah, most of them were Puerto Rican, Latina.
Yeah. Because the telemarketers for the Spanish speaking.
Yeah, I
right?
had this one girl, Inez.
Inez Pagan? She was one of my clients.
What is it? Oh, you never know. Maybe it is. Ask her if she's from Patterson. I had this one girl, Inez, that had worked with us for a while, so I knew who she was. So, like, she was my first marketer. And I said, hey, do you have any friends or whatever? And she was making good money. She's like, yeah, I have 20 of them, you know? So we hired like 3 or 4, you know? And
Wow.
that's how we kind of like grew with that office. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Slow and steady, but then big.
So the story of why I stopped going to school, right? That's what you're getting at, why I stopped going to college.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my buddy Carlos, which we're in this level 400 class capital budgeting course, right? We're in a mortgage. It came to the mortgage chapter or whatever, right? So the teacher or the professor starts talking to us about mortgages. And everything he said, well, not everything, but like 99% of it was wrong. So I kept correcting him during the lesson and saying, oh, no, this is actually how it works. That's how it works. And you should do this and blah, 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 blah. Now, I was already running a mortgage company, or not a mortgage company, but a office for a mortgage company, a branch. I don't know, easily for like 3 years, probably 4 years. 4 years at least, 5 years, whatever it was at that time. After the class, you know, me and my buddy Carlos go to leave, and the professor comes up to us, and he's like, hey, you know, and Carlos had just started working for me actually at that time, also in mortgages.
Oh, he should thank you. You put him on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my buddy Tony.
Like
same
you
thing
put
with
me
him.
on, you put Carlos on. Because
Yeah.
Carlos, well, he's very
Well, we
hard.
were like, me, him, and Tony were best friends.
Wow.
So my brother, like they kind of looked up to my brother as a brother as well, like, you know,
Yeah.
older figure in their life or whatever. So as soon as I started doing mortgages and I started doing it pretty well, like shortly after that, I got Carlos involved. Shortly after that, my buddy Tony got involved, you know, and we all did mortgages.
Wow,
You know, they all
beautiful.
do, like my buddy Tony works at Morgan Stanley now. He's in a whole different
Yeah,
environment.
he went more commercial, more
Carlos
corporate.
still has his mortgage company, but he's really a real estate investor.
Yeah, very good. Very smart
Which does
guy.
excellent. Yeah, he does amazing.
amazing.
But anyway, so we go to
Yes.
leave class. The professor comes up to me and says, you know, how did you know so much about this? And I told him, I said, well, I've been working, you know, doing mortgages for about 4 years now, or 3 years, whatever it was. And he goes, oh, okay. And he goes, you make a lot of money? Or I don't remember exactly the context, but it was something like, you know, you make a lot of money? And I said, you know, I do pretty good. And he's like, he said something to the effect like, well, I make $65,000 a year as a professor. And I said, oh, yeah, a lot more than that, or something to that. You know, I don't remember verbatim, you know, but I could remember speaking to him. It was hysterical. And he goes, I got one piece of advice for you. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, you need to stop coming to school and just concentrate on what you're doing. Just like that.
Oh, Rami, that's the clip.
Yeah.
That's the clip.
Yeah, just
That's
like that.
So your professor told you, hey,
My
college.
professor in my capital budgeting class literally told me, he said, you need to stop doing what you're doing. He says, it sounds like you're highly successful already at what you're doing. He said, you should concentrate on that. He's like, you're making 3 times more than what I'm making, and I'm an educated professor trying to teach you.
Yeah, he was a smart guy.
Yeah, so then I walked out that day, and I never saw William Patterson again. Just every now and then I drive by there.
And
but
you
other than
remember,
that,
you're like, whoa.
what I would do is I would go to school. I'd sign up for like 5 courses, maybe even 6. I can't remember, right? And the professors that would take attendance and require you to be present at all times,
That was not for
I
you.
would just drop their class then. Yeah. So like I'd sign up for like 5 or 6 and I'd wind up only keeping maybe 2 classes per semester. So like, I would drop out right where that cutoff is before, where you could still get like maybe 30% of your money back, but the grade doesn't count.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done with this class. Let me get out of here.
So it sounds like the real lives of real estate, you have to like in reality, you got to be able to make contrarian decisions. So that like the mode is that you go to school, you graduate, boom. Right. If you really want to succeed in real estate, you have to you can't just be like part of the fishes that swim one direction. Right. You swam the opposite direction. Now, thankfully, you had a professor kind of, hey, what are you doing here? Right. But a lot of people, they don't have a professor. Yeah. But thank the Lord that.
Yeah, that was like a pivot, right? If you think about it, it was like, huge. And hearing somebody that, is in a authority high level teacher, professor environment, and they tell you my best piece of information or advice for you is to do this. I'm like, you know what? Shit, I'm gonna go with his best piece of advice.
Did it pay off well? Do you think like that following
the decision?
Year? Yeah, that of course long term. Look where you're at.
Yeah,
but that year, did you see any immediate results like increase or not so much?
Yeah, I'm sure because you got to remember I used to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be in Wayne, right? By my first class was at 7:45.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I was working until like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. Then I'd have to drive the girls back home to Patterson, and then drive back to Newark because I lived in Newark. You know what I mean?
Brother, you were working like 100-hour work weeks.
Yeah. Now you got to. So now one other thing. During that time, I wound up opening up a couple clothing stores as well.
No, stop.
Yeah,
stop.
I never told you.
You did, but I didn't know it was that time.
No, it was during that time.
So you were you were a part-time student working 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks in mortgages, plus you owned a clothing store.
Yeah.
At 20 years old.
Yeah. Probably at 19 years old.
You couldn't even legally drink. You were making 180 grand back in, when you were 30 years ago, 1993.
Yeah, this was in 94 because I graduated high school in 92.
Just let you guys know, I was born in 1994. So he literally was doing this before I was born. Yeah. You hear that expression? I was doing this before you were born.
Yeah.
Literally before I was born.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But this is how me and you came about. This is a story about how real estate actually brought us together. So as you know, I moved around so much, but I had one constant in my life, a few blocks away from where you grew up. It was CCP, a beautiful church in Newark, right? And you came there recently to at least the parking lot.
Yeah, where I almost got towed, but whatever.
So there, my sister and I met a few people who would end up going to Nyack College.
Right.
I go to Nyack. So just say, the real estate, right? The reason why real estate connects us is by the church. They were offered many times to sell that piece of land.
Yeah.
If they had sold that piece of land, I would never have gotten connected with the alumni of Nyack College. If I never went to Nyack College, I never would have met Joao Carlos. If I never met Joao, when I ended up getting out of jail and I went to back into Jersey and he started with Exit Realty after working with you, he would never, he's like, hey, I expressed him, I was having difficulty finding a job. He would never have said, hey, you should become a realtor. If he never pulled me and like sponsored me and gave me money to become a realtor, right? Paid for my license, I never would have met you.
Right.
If I never had, and you're his godfather, right? If I never had met you, I would have been a bum in real estate. I would have been like the average realtor who sells like 5-7 houses, most likely, right? I would love to say, no, I would have made a mountain. That's a nice little fairy tale. We don't know if that's true. I know what did happen, right? So the long story there though, but you see like even you were in Newark at that. Were you in Newark? You were in Newark. Literally, because my church from Rome Street is probably 8 blocks.
No, right? Rome Street is...
No, not Rome Street. I apologize.
From Madison Street, probably less than 8 blocks.
Yeah, so I was going to church 7 blocks away from where you lived while you were home, while you were building this real estate business, right? And I had no idea you were there.
My clothing store was on the corner where we went to
where we went to get dinner. So you see, like, it's so funny.
Right there.
It's so interconnected. In Newark, I would say is like the biggest city, but such a small town, right? Very small. The connections are very, very clear. So, okay, now tell us a little bit about your business now. What does your business look like today? Like you have a lot going on. You're very secretive, but give the fans what they want.
Well, it's we're a mortgage company, a mortgage broker, and we go out there and give out mortgages. That's what it looks like.
Okay, you're gonna kill me. Basically, Carlos is the GOAT. Okay, that's what you got to know. Carlos, I'm going to put you on blast. I think you probably do 150 to 200 loans a year, personal.
Personally, yeah.
Okay, and here's why. The realtors and lenders, they lie all the time. So
But you can't lie anymore. I keep telling you this. Like,
What?
we all know, like, these guys that go on social media and they post how much they do. And then, like when you're at my level or you're running an office and you want to recruit people, this includes realtors now. The access is now available to us. It wasn't before. Before, like, it was available to you where you could go on your GSMLS or whatever and you can access, what does this realtor do? What does that realtor do if you want to go recruit them, right? So for mortgages, it was never available until like maybe 3 years ago. So with the NMLS system, right, which is, our licensing system, every mortgage that closes now closes under an NMLS number, right? That gets recorded. And there's two main companies that if you try to recruit employees, you subscribe to their services and you could look up everybody. So for example, let's say somebody says, hey, you got to meet this guy, Brendan Da Silva. He sells tons of real estate. I think that'd be a great asset. You should hook up. Blah, blah, blah. Now I go in, boom, boom, Brendan Da Silva. And it says you closed 5 purchases and 3 of them were buy side, 2 of them were listings. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to do with 3 buys?
Just to let you guys know, we do close more than 5. We close a good amount.
I said in 1 week, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So now I know if I should develop my relationship with Brendan or not, right?
Let me just ask like a rapid fire.
So I never knew really how many mortgages. I never, how you're very analytical, like all your numbers. I don't know about any of that. All I know is about, and I've said this for 30 years with loan officers that I trained, I don't care about units. I care about profit, right? So I look and I see how much profit's coming in. And that means we're doing well. If there's not a lot of profit, we're not doing well.
I would say one thing about you that I've learned that I need to be more like you deeply and immediately is you are very profit driven.
Yeah.
Can you, actually, great question. How real estate has impacted your life. You and your brother were in business in 2007. You guys were next level conquering the world.
Yeah.
The real estate market crashed. Mortgages went to hell. How did that impact your life personally? Was your home life impacted? Was your friendships impacted?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, there probably were tons of divorces going on at that time, specifically in the mortgage industry, right? Because we all went from living the Wolf of Wall Street. What you see there, we literally were going through.
Wow.
In 04, 05, and 06. It was next level, all right? Anybody you talk to that was around will tell you it was like amazing times, And then 2008 happens, and my personal income dropped by 95%. Wow. And now you got to remember, 95% of a commission-based person, that could mean you're going 2-3 months with zero to earn a little bit of that 5% portion now, right? So what was the question? How did my life change? My personal life?
Yeah.
So you find out how much your wife actually loves you, right? Because you go from like this high society life, right? And having money for whatever you want.
Baller vacation.
And you got to remember, I was still younger at that time.
Yeah.
Right? So,
you were mid-30s.
I'll put it to you this way. In 2007, I bought 4 new constructions down the shore, right? With the intentions of what everybody else was doing, buying them and flipping them for more money. Horrible freaking decision in my life. Should have never done that. You have all your cars, you have all your toys, you have all of this, and then all of a sudden, faucets turned off. So you really find out, if you're with your ride or die, I guess at that point, right?
How did your marriage handle it?
Fortunately enough, great. We're still married. You know what I mean? And but it was a little bit easier. I'll tell you this much because we didn't have children at that time.
Okay.
If we had kids, that could have been even, because I feel like you and your wife could figure everything out, right?
Yeah. But when you have children, you want the best for your kids.
When you have children, it becomes a little bit different. So I'm grateful that at that time, at least, we didn't have the children. That would have made things really, really rough. But that was it. So like, here's the deal. I still went into work every day, okay? And I still was putting in 60, 80-hour work weeks, but I was getting 0 results.
Wow.
Not because I wasn't working hard, not because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I was doing the same thing I did the rest of my career prior to that, but they're just work. Can
I be honest? Were you like right now? There's a shift going on in real estate, right? And I found myself catastrophizing and being paralyzed by fear for a moment or two too many. After work, how we talk about real life, not off of Instagram, like I find myself going home. I'm like, man, how the heck am I going to figure this out? Commission structure changing, the Fed rate. Yeah. How do I figure this out? Like there's that fear. when you are going through, your income drops 95%. You've sacrificed so much. You have an unbelievable quality of life. What do you think about, like, are you upset? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel afraid? What do you do? Do you use some like, are you a badass superhero? You use invincible?
Yeah, most people would have probably freaking committed suicide, honestly. Like,
Wow.
But, I just, even with my business, you probably know from going over files, I don't really stress.
No.
I like more like just like focus in on what I'm working on and get it done. You know what I mean? Figure it out, And that's kind of what I did at that time. I just said, hey, we're going to figure this out, and just work through it and, continue to work hard until we were able to come out on the other side,
I don't know how you did that because you lost a lot of employees. You lost a lot of talent.
A lot of employees.
And a lot
we
of
had
money.
a small company, but it was like 100 employees.
Bro,
And when I say we, it wasn't my company. It was my brother.
but still, 100 employees
my
is
brother
not
like
small.
really went through some.
Bro, that's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
You got to imagine this is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was brutal. It was real brutal, especially the first 6 months. But I will tell you that made it easier. I had, at that time, a Mercedes CL55. I had a Range Rover and a Lexus. The Lexus was paid off. The Mercedes and my Range Rover were not. My wife's truck was paid off too. Oh, no, it wasn't. So the first thing I did is I paid off her truck. My Mercedes was due off lease. And my Range Rover was due off lease.
Wow.
So it was like within 3 months, I didn't have that any
Those
longer.
payments, blessing.
And, and look, even like to today, I do not like monthly bills.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something I want because...
So that's what I was hoping to get to, because like for what I would say a real life of real estate, because when you're an entrepreneur, because when you're a commission-based employee, it can be like you have these really intense experiences, highs and lows. There's very little middle ground for people who want to win. We're like this. Either I'm like gonna be number one, or I can just be on the street.
Right.
There's no benefit of me being middle.
Right.
Like it's like, what's the difference? Really, it's like I might as well just be like all the way on the bottom. I'd rather just want to be number one. Number two is the worst position to be in. Right. That's how I feel. I'm like I want to be number one. With that being said, you had these like larger than life experiences that the majority of America. There's obviously there's amazing things. A lot of people can't have the Range Rover, right? But a lot of people never understand what it's like to like literally be a part of letting go 100 people.
Right.
And just be like, holy crap. And of all the people I know in real estate, you are the number one anti-overhead human.
Right.
So you keep your overhead low, you keep your company tight, you keep your expenses low, and then you don't get me wrong, you ball out. Right? But you only ball out in things you can buy in cash.
Right.
So like the modern day language is like, oh, use other people's money. You've always told me like, but if you can't buy cash, you cannot buy it.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Like buy your
But
your
that
car's
comes
cash.
from like experiencing a situation where almost everything could have been stripped from you, right?
So you buy your car.
I'll tell you this much. I never appreciated my wife's paycheck as much as I did during, that 1.5, 2 year period.
That was a blessing.
Yeah, because things really only turned around a little bit. It wasn't like a lot, but a little bit in like 2010. That's when like we started seeing some improvement again.
And then 2015, 16 really came up. Then 2019, 20, you're like, take off.
Yeah. But again, look, we don't make anywhere near the money we used to make.
Yeah.
Even,
in your
we
best
used to, the laws changed, we're maximized as far as how much we can earn per file. But it's, a blessing that we can make what we make,
Let me ask you a question. Marriage advice from a lender here. You're not a perfect guy, right? You make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes, yeah.
What would you say is like your...
Like this podcast?
What would you say like your advice is to like, how has real estate, this entrepreneurship impacted you in your marriage today? Like you have 2 kids, you work very hard. How are you a family man and able to do this?
Well, so I'll tell you like little experience on how we've been able to like maintain it. And listen, I'm sure until she would get tired of me, my wife would prefer that I'm home every day at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right? 5 o'clock. But when I met my wife, I met my wife when she had just turned 21. I had just turned 22, something like that, right? And at that time, I was already doing mortgages for quite some time. I had the clothing stores already. I worked 7 days a week. Not 6 days, not 5 days, 7 days a week, right? And during the holidays with the clothing business, it was crazy. It wasn't even just like 7 days a week. It's like, we had our office here in Newark, driving down to Woodbridge to meet my brother. He was usually there. And during holiday hours, the mall's open until like midnight. it was crazy. You know, those couple years of my life were really like burnt out years. But that being said, so when me and my wife first started dating, I made it very clear to her, and she understood that, you know, these are the hours I work, you know what I mean? And this is what it's going to be, period. You know? And she was receptive to that. She understood that I had a little level of success and I wanted to continue to grow that. She wanted to be part of that, obviously, right? She appreciated my work ethic and, you know, what I was doing. When we got married, I stopped working Sundays. Like that was kind of like the thing, hey, I won't work Sundays anymore. So I was still working Saturdays, you know, all day doing mortgages because we didn't have the stores at that time. And when we had Derek, our first child, my wife said, you can no longer work Saturdays. Like work as much as you have to during the week, but Saturdays and Sundays has to be for the family now.
And you agreed.
I agreed. Yeah, I never worked on that. Now that doesn't.
Yeah.
If you call me on a Saturday, I'll pick up.
Of course.
But I'm not physically sitting at an office.
Where
doing work.
before you were.
Where before I was at my office working.
The X factor is this: real estate has the ability, whether you're a lender, just a regular homeowner, even real estate professional, whatever it is, it has the ability to truly consume your entire being.
Oh, all day,
every life, every
yeah.
relationship, the conversations, mental space. So I think in a relationship, what I heard from you and Beth and what I see is you guys are crystal freaking clear. Like even from the dirt dating, hey, this is what my life looks like. This is what my hours look like. This is what I'm about.
Right.
Is that good with you? And really, I think the same thing with employees. Like people only really get upset, or clients even, they only get upset when you're not clear with them. If I'm clear with you, hey, we're going to show your property every single day between 5 to 8 p.m. You have to be at your house every single day at 4:30 till 8:30. Every single day, no matter what. Doesn't matter if I tell you or don't tell you, you got to do it. They're fine.
Right.
When you get a listing 2 weeks later, you turn around and say, hey, I got someone coming up in 15 minutes. Can you leave your house? They're very upset.
Right.
There's no communication. There's no clear expectation. It leads to frustration.
Right.
So
but look, with time, even with clients, right? So with time, I'm sure my wife's opinion has changed. We both have grown older together, right? And I'm sure she's probably like, holy crap, like, so when does this stop now? Like,
Yes.
right? Like if you're successful in business and we have achieved all these
Financial goals.
that you've set, like when does this stop, you know? And it's tough. You got to keep communicating and working through that.
Hence the trick. And I think, and actually in our like partnership, right? We've been together 7 years. Like, you know, my second husband, my first husband. I don't know. I have a wife now. I have a husband. But no, just kidding. I'm not. You know what?
Hey,
what can we say?
today's
day and age,
the equality, it's
It's
all good
just
saying
next
husband.
level.
You know, I'll gladly take you as my husband. You know, do I get to go on the accounts with
but
you?
I don't.
'Cause I need to have access.
No prenup. No prenup. Anyways, with that being said, like I've seen in our relationship, me and you have gotten in so many arguments, right?
Yeah.
Like attacking, fights,
Right.
And it's been really good.
And we don't agree on 90% of the stuff we
Oh my
talk
God.
about, right?
But we have like this next level partnership, and I think what's
But it's also respect for each other, right?
I was about to say that.
Like I've never, or I hope I've never like undermined you or made you feel a certain way. Let's say, right?
Oh no, you definitely have.
No. Well,
And
well,
I felt it
no,
towards
no,
you
no.
too.
But I'm saying in a disrespectful way.
No, for sure.
In a disrespectful way?
Yeah.
Stop.
Of course.
Oh my God, I gotta
Did
get
I
to
feel
another
belittled?
watch. Jesus Christ,
What
it's
was
not
that?
enough. Go ahead.
So no, for sure. But that's the whole point.
By the way, this is also how you stay in a happy marriage. You buy your wife
Gifts.
nice stuff. You know, it goes a long way. You know.
Hey, look, so the point is what I'm saying, Carlito, is basically what I've learned in like partnerships. You
Yes.
are going to disrespect one another, just like my wife and I.
Right.
You are going to screw each other over, and that's
Right.
literally what I told our new transaction coordinator today. I took her out lunch. I said, "I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to disappoint you. You're going to feel really, really, really screwed by me eventually. When that happens, all you have to do is immediately bring it up to me, and I will make up for it. Or I will apologize immediately. I will make it right."
Right.
But the reality is, in any human dynamic, there is going. I don't care how wonderful you think that your partner
Right.
is, your business partner, all experience. You got to understand, in any human partnership, there's
Right.
gonna be crap hitting the fan.
Yeah.
The question is, when the crap hits the fan, how do you go about it?
Right.
Do you just build and build and build?
So that's like business as well, right? So in a partnership, you grow old together, right? Me and you were growing old together. You know, me and my wife have grown old together. Me and my business have grown old together.
Yeah.
I've had to change, you know, through business, or not through business, but I've had to change business models throughout the years based upon what we're doing in business, and based upon who I'm aligned with, who I'm doing business with, that type of stuff. You know, if you're not able to accept change and continuously work on it,
you're dead.
Relationships suck. You know what I mean? Because it's a two-way street.
Another clip around me right there. Okay.
Right?
It's 100%. Now let me ask you rapid fire questions, because we are sadly right now at time I could talk to you for 2 hours. Which some of you guys don't know, this busy man Carlito somehow has the ability to hold me prisoner on the phone. I'll call him at
but that's at like 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean?
Just keep me going for like 2 hours.
Right.
I'm like,
that's why we can't get together, because we'll just keep talking. You know?
But that's why I love the pod.
Yeah.
Even Rami, I was like, this one's gonna be a little bit longer. Rapid fire. This is not a get rich podcast.
Right.
This is not a how to succeed in real estate world.
Yeah.
This is strictly behind the scenes. But I gotta ask, because you're a person who's like so high caliber, you've coached me to the level I'm at. If you're a realtor listening, I would highly recommend like get a cup of coffee, pick brain, email Carlos some questions, whatever it is,
or just send me some deals, whatever.
Send me some deals, right?
Sending the deals works good.
Yeah, that's usually the best way in the door. What would you say?
I love the view, by the way, like airplanes flying by.
It's unbelievable.
It's
My
like,
view,
you know,
I think this is the way we should have people sit, because it's inspirational behind me.
Oh, like, yeah, I'm watching, like, there's a whole world out there, dude.
Oh, yeah, it's so nice. This
like
is
the
sick.
the port's right there.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It's crazy.
Okay, rapid fire. Keep the answers short and sweet.
Yep.
Number one mistake you see real estate professionals making professionally
Number one?
in terms of realtors, like what's
There's
the
too
big
many
mistake?
that just ran right through my mind. Are you kidding me? All right, number one. Well, God, I don't know that it's number one, but I would say number one is not working hard enough.
Not working hard enough.
Yeah.
Simply effort.
Period.
Okay, second.
Yeah.
How about what and that's realtors and loan officers, or just realtors?
Goes to both.
Both. Okay. How about personally? What's a big mistake? You get really close to your team members and like to your realtor partners. What kind of mistakes do you see people making personally in our industry?
Over leveraging themselves immediately.
Over leveraging immediately.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
They start making, they find a little level of success and they start going, which for me as an employer is actually great, but they go out there and they start buying stuff and spending all their money because they have unfounded money that they didn't have the ability to tap into. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you're leveraged out. And now you need to work to continue to live, right? And it should be the other way around.
And you're right, as an employer, it's good because now they're like so motivated.
Oh, I love that because I say, go out and buy 2 Mercedes, because that means you're going to originate more, you're going to work harder to do more.
I'll be honest with you, like you do that to me, and I know you do it to me. I know it, like this whole billboard thing.
Oh, the billboard's great because you're only going to work harder, so that's great.
But honestly, I find myself like I now know that. So I actually, and it's not, I don't know how, it's really a gamble. I just keep betting on myself so it pays off.
Right.
And I really believe in myself so much, no matter what, I can figure it out.
Right.
But what I've learned is your bank account shouldn't always be super fat. Yes, you should be financially safe, have your reserve, whatever. But like, it shouldn't be big. Like you should try to invest that money down. And when people talk investing, I use the term a lot. People think it's real estate, Airbnb. I'm not even talking about that.
No, there's a lot.
Like for me, when I talk about investing, I talk about investing in yourself, investing in your income. One of our friends who moved to Florida, you know who I'm talking about, was telling me he's going to go buy, a really good friend of mine, really good friend of yours, nothing but love for him about, privacy-wise, I won't say his name. He said that he's looking for another property to buy to increase his cash flow.
Right.
I said, no, don't do that. Instead of increasing your cash flow in property, just go out, spend coming up with $100-something grand for a property just to make $1,500 a month in cash flow.
Right.
Go if we can get a one more deal a year, 2 more deals a year. That's your $15,000
That's
a year.
your money.
What
right
are we
there,
talking?
yeah.
And it requires no money up front, no tenant headaches. Just do that. So long story short, what I try to do instead of buying stuff that are just causing me financial turmoil, I try to put my money down in things I know somehow, maybe it won't be a great return, but will make me some money somehow, some way. Like the billboards, I know that's going to make me money somehow, some way, right? A new employee who's high value, okay, I know this is going to make me money somehow.
Right.
Okay, another question for you.
Well, that's perfect. Investing in your business, right? Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Invest in your business more than invest in real estate is what I've learned.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Next question. What would you say where do you see interest rates 1 year from today?
Well, I was just at the crystal ball this morning.
Good.
No, I don't know. So look, everybody says a lot of different things, but historically, just from my experience, rates have always dropped during election years, right?
Good.
So you got to figure September, October, rates will probably drop a little bit. Are they going to drop to where it's going to make a huge impact? I don't know about huge, right? Because inventory is going to be tough to come across. We were closing many, many mortgages we did many mortgages at 2.25% to 3% interest rate. They're not going to resell their home. So that automatically is not going to hit the inventory pool, right?
Never.
I think rates are probably historically, like they've been in the high fours. So probably 4.75, 5%.
Yeah.
Which would be nice, but that's not going to bring us that next level inventory that would be necessary.
No.
So for us to crush it on the real estate end, right?
We need
the rates to
down
get
to
into
5,
the 3,
4.
No. It's got to be like 3.5.
You mean for us to go chaos again?
Yeah, because you need all those customers that are in the 2 to 3% range.
Mm-hmm.
They want to buy up, but they're not going to buy up unless it makes sense.
I think even honestly, Carlos, you want to hear the truth? My opinion. I think honestly, even if it doesn't go that low, there's so much pent up. Like I'm trapped.
Right.
I got to get out of my house, but I have a 3.5%. I think even if it went even 4.5, 5, people would still do the thing. I honestly,
a big percentage would.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great.
But you're saying
I'm
chaos
saying
levels.
Yeah, we're never going to reach the levels of inventory that for our dense population area that we would need. It's not going to hit,
Okay, because one thing that you do that so impresses me and how you're able to live this life with even, and I know you do so much. Like you are being very humble, but like I always say like there's no deal that you can't close. Right. Is like in short of like mortgage fraud, like there's no deal that you can't close.
Yeah.
And literally, I've seen you pull deals like off that the listing agent says, "How did your lender do this?"
So what it is I just keep grinding at the deal and grinding at the deal and grinding and trying to figure out how does it like obviously for us to even put the deal together, there's a deal there, right? Like at the initiation, I'm talking about, right? Now things go sideways, right?
No,
so now my job,
you've done miracles. I'm telling you.
Well, my job is to figure out a miracle, right? To make the deal work out, and we keep at it. And honestly, and I tell you this all the time, it just hasn't happened. Eventually, the miracles will run out.
But there's been 7 years.
I don't know how many are left.
No. It's been 7 years. Okay, true or not true? You've been to every game of your son Derek.
Every game except one.
Except one.
We had a wedding that day.
And your son is in 2 baseball leagues.
He's right now he's on a club team and his travel team. Yeah.
How do you do it?
Fortunately enough, I have had a level of success where I could just turn it off and say, no, today I have to go do this. Now, I have tremendous amounts of help from my wife because she's the one who takes him to all his practices. I don't go to any practices. I don't do any of that because, I'm stuck at the office. But, yeah, I haven't missed anything of his at all.
It keeps coming back to me. I think your wife, Beth, is the most I think wives overall
100%.
are most
we
underrated.
We just talked
X
about
factor.
this, yeah.
It's a most underrated X factor because I was telling Chris, he's about to get married downstairs.
My wife, by the way, what you probably saw, she just ran for Board of Education.
Yeah.
So my wife's an amazing human being, right? Where other people will complain about politics or about life or this and that. She is not the complainer. She actually goes and takes action. So she doesn't like the way the schools are heading, right, with education. And she's an educator. She's, been teaching 24 plus years. She might retire this year. We'll see. But I hope not. Benefits are certainly expensive. But so she is an amazing human being, right?
Yeah.
And
she takes action.
Me and her go at it, obviously. That's just life all the time. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know many people that would stop what they're doing. She's super busy with everything she has going on.
2 kids.
And then says, you know what? I'm going to run to be part of the Board of Education.
Yeah.
And try to make a change for my kids because they're going to be in the school system for the next 10 to 15 years.
What an amazing, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I similar to my wife. My wife, our church is doing has had this children's ministry director for 20 something years, right? And she does a lot of work with the children of our church, the youth of our church, and the inner city of Newark. And they need someone to fill her shoes. This is a high demand job, low pay kind of position. Right. It's not profit.
Yeah.
And my wife is like, "Oh, I'm doing it." And it's like, what? I told her, Deb,
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot. I told her, Deb, this is crazy. You can't stay at home wife. Be your,
all right, so listen to this. So my wife obviously has a full-time job, right? So I will say I'm an amazing husband as well, right?
Come on.
I take care of the kids. So the craziness, and now you have a child, so you're starting to learn this. So my wife leaves the house by 7 a.m. every morning. So I'm responsible for getting the kids up, getting them ready, and making sure that they get on the bus now. I used to drive them to school, before they were in regular school. And you used to call me at like 8:45, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting the kids. Come on, like 9 o'clock, no earlier than 9, you know? So anyway, the morning routine is crazy. So therefore, I know the evening routine must be equally as crazy, which I'm not part of. She is, right? I do come home early sometimes, give the kids their baths and, do all that type of stuff. But so she's responsible for getting them ready at night and doing all that. She's the Girl Scout leader, troop leader, because, our daughter is now in Girl Scouts. My daughter is now in cheerleading. She's one of the cheerleading, I don't know what they call them, but moms or whatever. So she's there now all the time with that. Takes my son to practices. We do have a nanny, but like there's only so much both of them could do.
Yeah.
And now she's taken on the Board of Education too. Which
it's just
the way I look at it, and I don't know. I don't know if this is me being a shallow person and not a great human being like her, but I look and I'm like, well, what are they paying you to do this?
I think the same
and
thing.
It's zero.
No, it's zero?
A Board of Education gets zero, yeah. Yeah. Like if you're a councilman or a mayor, you get a little bit of money. Yeah, it's zero. It's truly
I didn't
like,
know that.
These people, like, it doesn't matter what their views are, whether they have different views educationally of yours or not. They're all there devoting time and getting zero. And if anything,
they really care.
Getting ridiculed, taking crap from people all day long. Yeah.
Parents are tough, man.
Yeah.
Parents will kill.
Yeah.
A human being may not kill you, but a parent, wow.
The only reason why you're extremely successful now, you were successful before getting married, right? But why you continue to be successful is you have a good partner in life, right?
Yeah.
So that's like one of the takeaways from today should be like, and I say this to a lot of people that I speak to, is you got to make sure that's your ride or die. Like you guys are in it together, because you can't have the level of success and then everything that comes with life with it, right?
I think this is a great way to end the podcast. But it truly is who you marry, who you partner with, both in professionally partner, like me and you, I see us as partners. And then my wife, obviously we're literally one human, right? But two have become one. Right. It is by far the most important decision outside of who you say God is. Yeah. It's like who you say God is number one. Who you say you are, your self-worth, right, is number two. Pragmatically, the most important decision you'll make in life is who you marry. Yeah. Especially if you want to be in real estate. If you marry someone who doesn't understand what this life really looks like, it will never work. No. And this is a big bonus I had. I started dating my wife when I had no financial stability whatsoever. I was sharing a bed with my mother. I was making $200,000 a year, still sharing a bed with my mother in a room that she rents out 4 rooms. Right. She lives in one of the rooms, right? My mother would kill it, and she ended up getting her own place, whatever. But she would keep that as like a money thing, right? And it was like my mom was so. She showed me that, but literally I was so broke. I was sharing a bed with my mom, right? And Deb was with me the whole ride. So for me, when I saw that, what does it teach me? Right? Deb would come in, we were like very like Christian values in the relationship, but like I would like, oh, look at this. And she would see my bedroom. She's like, it had pink sheets on the bed.
A little bit weird. But nowadays, hey, whatever, to each his own.
Well, I think that to me was one of the best things about our relationship, because it showed me very clearly, like, this woman is really not here for the money at all. Yeah. She's strictly, even Deb, one time I got her earrings. I remember this was, I asked you for advice, and you sent me to Vinas on Ferry Street. And I was like, I want to get Deb hoops. So I got Deb these golden hoops. And like, these are like, back in the day, it was a lot of money for me. It was like $400 or $500, these hoop earrings. And it was just gold. I love hoops. And Deb was like, I gave it to her as like a surprise gift. And the next 2 days I see her, she's not wearing them. And finally, the second day, I go, hey, just out of curiosity, you said you liked it. What's going on? She's like, oh, I feel guilty. I said, why? She goes, well, I know where my parents are at financially. They have to pay rent. It's a big chunk of change for them. Yeah. Meanwhile, maybe the other way, I'm just guessing, was like, let's say $1,800, right? And the earrings were like $600 or whatever it was, $500, $600. She goes, this is a third of their rent. I'm just walking around with these on my ears. So I just feel a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah. Can we return them for a more modest pair? And when she said that to me, I said, oh, this woman's my wife. Right. Because, I have I'm not going to say who it was. I have a family member, friend, let's call it, that was proposed to. And she literally, the guy got her like a $30,000 ring, right? $40,000 ring. And she said yes to the engagement and asked him to change the ring. And went for a better $60,000 ring.
That's insane.
So I said, oh, no. So for Deb, who did the opposite, I'm
Right.
like, that's a ride or die.
Right.
No, but I agree.
But there are a lot of people that are like that.
Oh, a
Honestly.
lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
it's-
That's why you got to be very
that-
careful.
and
Super careful. You got to be super careful.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to be unbelievably careful who you end up with. The biggest thing, I'm not talking, prenup, no prenup. I'm not talking about the way it splits. The mental turmoil, a divorce, not having peace in your home causes you.
Yeah.
Carlos,
I've known people that have gone through divorce, and it's never good.
I know someone right now went through a divorce, business went down. Literally, let's say they sold 50 houses last year. This year, 30 houses, 27 houses.
Yeah.
They almost went down 50%. They said,
Well, the mental focus too.
That's
of
what they said.
Job. Like you can't,
That's what they said.
So
They said-
but by the way, that is the one thing that I will say, like, and this is the one thing that I do great, just in life in general. Even my wife says, like, I don't understand you. Like, I will not stress about anything. It doesn't not because the way I look at it is like life is too short, right? If we don't get there at this time, we'll get there when we get there, and it's gonna be okay,
Yeah.
right? So the number one thing I would say to a new agent or loan officer is do not stress.
Do not
Because
stress.
you cannot stress.
Oh, you know I stress.
Oh, I know you do. Yeah,
I stress.
It's horrible.
I'm a
It's
stresser.
very bad for you.
Oh, my back tells you.
We
it says that
listen.
you're right.
In another 10 years from now, we're going to do a podcast again. I will be 59 and you will be 39 and I will look younger than you maybe. And the reason why is because you're going to be stressing out about everything.
No, you don't stress.
So
you're right. I get so worked
I don't
up.
stress, and there's a lot of stress to stress about.
And by the way, I've seen you make a lot of money that I'm like, I'm just doing the math in my head. I'm like, this guy's killing it. And then in my mind, though, I've seen you like several deals of ours die at the same time. And the way that you respond to the deals dying versus the way I respond to deals dying, you're like, oh, that's it. What can we do?
Yeah.
Next deal.
There's a guy like on the internet, and I like, so a lot of what I do, I never read about, but like it's in all these books, I'm sure. I have a beautiful book you sent me that's sitting there in my office. One day I'm going to read it, But like I recently saw like, right?
You're like, I never read these books, but I think they're written about me.
I'm pretty sure they're like everything I've experienced is in there, But like the one thing, and I just heard somebody say this, like when a deal dies on me, I literally say good. Like, great, no problem. Let's get 2 more.
Done.
Great opportunity to do more business. And I heard somebody on TikTok the other day, and they say that that's what they live life off of. When something negative happens, they go, good.
Wow.
Let's go with the next thing. You know what I mean? Oh, my car died. Great opportunity to buy a new car today.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, so you take the negative and always try to turn it positive, right?
Okay. I have one last question for you, Carlos. What is one thing that you know about me or a story that you have with me, professional, personal, that you would say would surprise people listening?
It won't surprise them. I'm answering a different question.
That's
Okay,
fine.
but it's a good one. So Brendan has this habit of, calling his clients, and he will get a buyer to get a bid accepted, right? And we'll be on the phone with the buyer. Well, we don't really do this anymore, and you will say, terrible news. The seller did not accept your offer. And they will be devastated. Oh, Brendan, are you sure? Can you try harder? No, I tried. They just will not go for it. It's done. Took somebody else's offer. Clients literally crying on the phone. And then Brendan says, I'm just kidding. It's your house. You got it. And I'm like sitting there like, holy crap.
There's
this
one
is
time though,
insane.
There's one time I did someone and they literally started crying on the
I
phone.
was on the phone on conference with you. Yes.
It was so
That's why it
uncomfortable.
sticks out.
And then I gave and you could say like, oh, I just need a second. I didn't get the opportunity to like tell them the truth. I actually did get accepted.
Right.
So I let them hang in that like depression for way too long. And then at the flip side, one time I told someone that and they were like, you know what? It's a good thing. I wasn't even sure about this.
And you're
house.
like, whoa, put on the brakes, pump the brakes. No, but you did that to Natalie recently.
Oh, no, she doesn't like it.
Oh, no, she was like,
No, she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it.
not feeling good.
No.
that
I
day.
actually learned I gotta stop doing that. People get offended.
Yeah.
People get
So I
offended.
definitely answered a different question.
No, but nonetheless,
nonetheless,
I think
it's definitely a Brendan
to conclude,
situation.
you are a great example of the real life real estate from Newark, 30 years in, immigrant to this country, able to build a large amount of wealth and more than the wealth that you personally have accumulated and the difference you made for your family. I'm sure there's dozens of Brendans, right? People, or hundreds probably, of people that you've impacted, realtors, lenders who you've put on into real estate, some of which you've been friends with for 30 years, right, in the business, and us being in partnership for 7 years, God willing, another 30 years to come. If you aren't following Carlos, he's not very active on Instagram, but hopefully this caused him to be at Key Point Mortgage. And if you haven't done a deal with Carlos yet, I recommend doing many if you want to see miracles. And with that being said, adios.
Thank you for having me.